What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, keeping you up to date. And you know what time it is? It is that time of the week where we cover all the latest and we got our wrestling games roundup. Today we got big news in regards to AEW, some complaints that AEW Games is getting, a sneak peek for one of their games, and of course we are talking the latest for WWE 2K22 as it just went through another major loss. And before we jump into it, cheap plug, if you want even more wrestling games content, check out our second channel. I'll leave a link down in the description, on the comment, and even on the top right there. Just click on it. There might even be some pyro coming out of it. Starting off with some big update in regards to the AEW console game. As we know, Kenny Omega have been very active at talking about the game and giving us bits of information week by week and month by month. This time right before the AEW Revolution pay-per-view, he had an interview with the New York Post, giving us some extra information on how exactly they are going to be updating the roster of the game. He already indicated before that this is something that they want to do because they want to keep the life cycle of the game going. They want to give us a free roster updates, arena updates, and so on. So he went on to elaborate on all of this. A big difference Omega has planned is regular updates to the game, similar to other sport titles that provide organic roster updates. WWE's recent games have offered additional downloadable game with legends and superstars missing from the original roster at an extra cost. Omega wants the AEW schedule updates to potentially include not just new superstars and new arenas, but also brand new wrestlers gear / attire, brand new t-shirts, hair, and other cosmetic changes if they happen in real life for certain superstars. So if somebody gets a haircut, they want to be able to update the roster and make that superstar look as current as possible than for us to having to wait for another game to come out. He ended up referencing Cody Rhodes' neck tattoo as an example. Certain circumstances could also call for something more immediate, which then he went on to indicate the following in regards to actual addition of superstars, and I quote, "There is sort of a conundrum of, let's say next week on AEW Dynamite, Paul White shows up," which as he indicated is something that ended up happening. He is now part of the AEW roster. Paul White shows up, and this is something that happened, and this is something that fell into our lap out of nowhere. People might want that character now, and we sort of need to have an update ready for people as soon as possible, and not kind of go, well, actually, geez, we just kind of updated, so we'll get him on the next update 3 months from now. We want to sort of have a system in place. When there's these high demand situations, we can still pump out something right away for people. End quote. So as he indicated, they don't want to make us wait for 3 months for us to get the Big Show, for us to get Christian, or just anybody who has been added into the game. They want to give it to us as soon as possible. And I feel like this is something that they could end up doing. They could give us a big roster addition in a matter of 2 weeks or maybe even 1 week. If they have a good system in place where maybe you actually know who's coming to AEW a week ahead of time and they start working on it right away. If they nail this, and it honestly looks like they will because they got the right mindset of it, it's gonna be amazing. One thing that we have seen from WWE Games is that community creation is obviously incredible, and it is the best thing to go in there after a big pay-per-view, after the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, or whatever, and just update attires for superstars in the roster already. So if AEW is able to officially do this, they bring out full roster update with official attires updates and official superstars added into the roster, it is truly going to get people coming back to the game, playing the game, and it is only going to expand the life cycle of that game. Again, if they nail this, these live roster updates are gonna be the best thing, alongside with everything that community creation would already offer. Sticking with AEW game, we got the AEW Casino Double or Nothing mobile game, which fans are mostly complaining about right now, and that is for a very good reason, because at the end of the day, it's not really an AEW game. The complaint is basically basically what I mentioned before, that the AEW logo and the initial image of the game is there, but then once you are actually in the game, it literally almost has nothing related to AEW. It is just a casino game, and that is just what it is. They just happen to put the AEW label on it, and that's it. I personally feel like this isn't a good showing for AEW games. It doesn't give them a good first game or just a game that is related to them. So I guess I'm not surprised that we see people complaining about it, and they have been getting some backlash on Twitter for it. What they should have given us first is the AEW Elite General Manager mobile game, which by the way, over the last couple of days, they ended up giving us a brand new sneak peek showing off 3 new gimmicks that we are going to be able to use in the game. The gimmicks are of course power-ups that are going to help you throughout the match so that you could ultimately have a better rating for your show. These are some pretty cool animation. They showed up the candlestick, the skateboard, and the sexy spray gimmick. Again, no release date on when exactly this game is gonna come out, and we are still on pre-alpha footage, so do keep that in mind. Onto some other news, we're talking some of the latest for WWE 2K22. As you guys know, this is something that it's gonna keep going, where WWE continue to lose some of their roster members to that big competition, AEW. It's big losses to WWE 2K22 roster, but big gains to the Yuke's AEW console game. As we ended up learning this past weekend, AEW just signed Christian to a major deal. Christian is no longer part of WWE. Even though he was at the Royal Rumble, that was a special appearance by him. That was his major return to pro wrestling after dealing with injury, and it looks like WWE decided to not keep him around for whatever reason. It probably had to do with contract issues, much like Paul White, where AEW was offering him a better deal. So just in the last month, we have gotten Big Show and now Christian being added to the remove list of superstars from WWE 2K22, signing with AEW. The AEW game's roster is getting stocked up with a lot of legends and just a lot of active superstars that we've seen in WWE games for decades now. Year after year, WWE 2K Games is taking a big roster loss at the moment, and I just hope that they go out of their way and start making deals with other legends that should have been in the game a long time ago, but they just haven't been able to get them. Feels like they're gonna need a lot of new additions for this year's game, seeing as they are literally losing a lot of the top superstars that have been a constant in their game. At the end of the day though, let's not forget that we have community creation, our savior in all of this. Anyways, that is the wrestling games roundup that I got for you this week. If you enjoyed, don't forget to elbow drop it. We got a new episode of these coming out at the beginning of the week, keeping you guys updated, so make sure to hit those notifications. I'll catch you on the next one, so stay savage.